Your son, he's gone. He was weak and foolish, like his father. So I destroyed him.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Weak and Foolish Movie Podcast. My name is Mike Tang, and with me is
Job Ang.
And in today's episode, we're going to be taking a look back at all the major releases of the 2019 summer movie season. And for the three people out there who have been listening to our podcast, we want to thank you for following along with us. We know our expert opinions on movies matter a lot to you, so we've decided to go back and discuss movies that we weren't able to dedicate an entire episode to. So, just to recap, we've already discussed Avengers Endgame, Godzilla, King of Monsters, Spider-Man Far From Home, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, as well as the indie film The Farewell. So we're not going to go over those movies today. Instead, we're going to be focusing on the following films: John Wick Chapter 3, Pokemon Detective Pikachu, Aladdin and the Lion King, Dark Phoenix, Toy Story 4, and Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw. Just a heads up, we will be going into spoilers for every one of the movies that we recap in this episode, so if you haven't seen the movie, just skip forward to the next discussion. It's going to be a long episode, so enough of this introduction. Without further ado, here is our 2019 summer movie recap.
Woohoo!
All right, first off is John Wick Chapter 3.
Jonathan, what have you done?
To dream the impossible dream.
There is no escape for you. The High Table wants your life.
To right the unrightable wrong.
Tell me what you want.
Passage.
I can't help you.
To reach the unreachable star.
And Job, I know you were not able to see this movie.
Unfortunately not.
Definitely. So this is a movie I definitely recommend because 2019 is the year of Keanu Reeves. As you know, he appears in more than one movie that we're going to be talking about today. Whenever you get the chance, definitely check out this film. Have you seen John Wick Chapter 1 and 2?
I saw the first one, have yet to watch the second one, and so I didn't want to spoil myself and watch this one yet.
Oh, yeah. You definitely need the second one before going into this, because this takes place like minutes after the second film.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I'm working my way through the Keanu cinematic universe, So.
Oh, man, it is quite a cinematic universe. I mean, this year he showed up in the Asian American film Always Be My Maybe.
That's right.
He is also starring in the upcoming video game Cyberpunk 2077, which looks sick. And he's also filming the third Bill and Ted movie. And he was in Toy Story 4. I mean, this guy's everywhere. He's going through a resurgence, and I feel like every decade in the last 40 years, like he's had like a hit movie in each decade. In the 1980s, he had Bill and Ted, right? In the 1990s, he had Point Break and Speed. 2000s, he had the Matrix trilogy, and then in the 2010s, he has the John Wick trilogy. Like, he's truly like a unique movie star.
Yes.
And this movie, it surprised everyone. It grossed 170 million domestically, 320 million worldwide. This is the best selling John Wick film so far. And it just, he keeps getting better and better in this franchise. And all this is against a reported budget of 75 million. So this is a very unlikely franchise. And it felt like a one-off with the first movie. And then it just, they came out with another one, did it even better. This one's like, within the first 3 days, they announced that they were going to make a fourth movie. So really successful, really happy for Keanu Reeves. I mean, we've all heard what a nice guy he is. So yeah, I'm glad he's having a resurgence again.
Yeah.
And in terms of this movie, I think it's a great action film. It has one of the greatest knife fights captured on camera, in my opinion. This happens in the first 20-30 minutes of the movie. So
Nice.
So yeah, you can't miss it, Joe. But I think it does suffer from, I think, too much action. And I
What?
think we just lost one of our 3 listeners when I just said that.
Yeah, I think they just logged off right now. They're
Yeah.
like, nope, I am done. You've lost all credibility.
But, hear me out, okay? Because this movie takes place immediately after John Wick 2. And I know you haven't seen John Wick 2, but, it's assumed that there's a lot of action in that movie. And obviously, our hero gets hurt and injured. He has to go through all these fight scenes, and gunfights, hand-to-hand combat. So already at the end of the movie, he's already sustained numerous injuries, and he's had to endure all the events in that movie. I just think it's too unbelievable that he would just continue minutes after for another 2 to 3 days straight of action. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't pause in this movie. And so I felt like...
he's got adamantium or something, he's self-healing. That's the explanation.
Maybe. They could cross it over, right, with the MCU. Because, what's not in the MCU these days, right?
Right, totally.
John Wick is a franchise that's kind of grounded in reality. It's not Fast and the Furious. People aren't, like, flying off cars, and, cars aren't, like, jumping through buildings. It's grounded in reality, and it's based on the physical laws of the universe. Like, when John Wick gets shot in this franchise, he bleeds, and he limps around. He gets hit by a car. He's seriously injured. I think someone should have communicated to the filmmakers of this movie that, it's okay to pause and have some dialogue once in a while. Have people talk. Like, that's okay. Like, we don't mind that, I think, as an audience. But this movie is just nonstop action, and I think it really could use, some quieter scenes. I feel like, I sound like an old man, don't I?
A little bit. I'm like, a John Wick 3 movie with too much action? I don't. What?
Well, I think you need to see it, and then you need to tell me if I'm being the grumpy guy here.
I think so. You're Clint Eastwood now. Get off her lawn.
Halle Berry is in this movie, and she has a really cool character, but I feel like she's very underutilized. She has a really cool action scene with some dogs. That's as far as I'll say. But this does set up more sequels, which we'll see Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne teaming up. If you didn't know, Lawrence Fishburne is in John Wick 2 and 3.
Oh.
Yeah, so okay, so originally when I saw this movie, I'm like, okay, the next natural step for John Wick 3, please bring in Hugo Weaving, Carrie-Anne Moss.
Oh.
Like, they've already given us the Matrix reunion with Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne. Let's bring back the other players. Like, stop winking at us. Give us what we want. We want that Matrix reunion. This is what I was thinking when I first saw John Wick 3. And then last week they announced there's a Matrix 4. And
Yep.
Keanu Reeves
I was going to say.
Yeah. So they're coming back for an actual Matrix movie. So that's cool. I guess, we don't really need that reunion.
Are you excited about that?
I have mixed feelings. Like, I'm sure when I see the trailer, like, I'm going to see it. I'm definitely going to see the movie. The Wachowskis, I don't think, in my opinion, I haven't been a fan of their movies since 1999.
Since the first one.
I've come back to their movies every time they release something. I usually see it opening weekend, and I've been really disappointed with their films. I know there's a lot of people out there who love their films, who think they take really they're very bold and ambitious, and I agree to some extent, but man, they just can't deliver a story and characters and just action scenes that work anymore. Like, it's so weird. Like, they made the freaking Matrix, and then now it's like they can't even string together a couple scenes to make it a compelling story. So
it's really interesting you say that, because I have a theory that, like, sometimes filmmakers have one masterpiece in them in their lifetime, and they create something that's truly transcendent that just feels like almost otherworldly, and then that's all they've got.
Right.
That could have been what happened there.
Yeah.
I think the same thing happened to Peter Jackson. Like he created one of the most epic trilogies of all time and hasn't done anything remotely close since. Maybe that's what happened there too. But I think we're on a bit of a tangent now.
No, it's cool. I mean, it's somewhat related, I guess, to John Wick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but you know, I mean, there are other filmmakers out there. You know, they make The Dark Knight, and then they make Inception, and then they make Dark Knight Rises, and then they make Interstellar. They just keep going. So,
That's right.
you know, I don't know. Yeah, I guess they've had bad luck, I guess, in the last 20 years. I hope the Matrix 4 kind of restores the franchise back to, you know, where it once was, you know, 20 years ago. I know Lana Wachowski brought on 2 other writers, so hopefully, maybe, like, there's a chance, like, some fresh voices enter the franchise, and then they kind of take it in a different, more interesting direction.
Yeah. It's missing a Wachowski, though, so maybe that'll change it up, too, and see what happens there.
I'm willing to go back to it. Like, you know, they made my favorite movie of all time. You know, I told myself after Jupiter Ascending I would never watch another one of their movies ever again. And guess what? The next movie they make is going to be Matrix 4. So
you have to.
They made me eat my words.
Right. That's like me and the Jurassic World movies. You have to. It's just an obligation at this point.
That's when the movies are the best, right? When we're obligated to go back and pay money.
Yeah.
That's how you know, dude, they're genius. They got us.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
All right.
But yeah, I'm always up for more Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, definitely. He just seems like a cool guy. I want to hang out with him.
Yeah.
All right, and we can talk about Keanu Reeves and the Matrix and all that. You know, let's get back on track and
yes,
Pokemon Detective Pikachu.
Welcome to Rhyme City, a celebration of the harmony between humans and Pokemon.
Tim, your dad was a legend in this precinct. If you were anything like your dad...
I'm not.
I remember. You wanted to be a Pokemon trainer when you were young.
Yeah, that didn't really work out. Someone there? Whoever you are, I know how to use this.
Oh, jeez. Here we go.
I know, you can't understand me, but put down the stapler or I will electrocute you.
I've been talking for a while, Job. Let's discuss Pokemon. What did you think of Detective Pikachu?
Well, some context. I grew up playing Pokemon Red version on my transparent purple Game Boy Color. Grew up with the cards, collecting them, desiring, probably more like lusting after the first edition Charizard holographic card. So big Pokemon fan growing up, and that craze came on right at the right time. I was probably 9 or 10, right in the middle of elementary school. So that was the perfect time for that to happen. So watching this movie was kind of interesting. I've since grown way out of enjoying Pokemon on a consistent basis. So hearing that there was kind of a live action CGI version of this IP that I grew up watching in anime form was kind of weird, a weird decision, but it was still interesting. Part of me was really excited to see what modern CGI would do with Pokemon, and another was like this old, cynical, and very uninterested person. Like, I'm just kind of like, what? Why are we watching a Pikachu that talks? It doesn't even make any sense. But it sounds so...
Not only does he talk, he has the voice of Deadpool.
Yes, that's right. Ryan Reynolds. I mean, I thought this concept is so ridiculous. This doesn't make any sense. But I came away having a great time with it. Ryan Reynolds was fun. He's tolerable, as Detective Pikachu. He was what he was. And Justice Smith, the main character, the kid, is kind of carving out a niche, as a kind of a neurotic pseudo nerd. Like in Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, he's just this bumbling, nerdy guy, and he's kind of the same guy in this film too. Not sure if I like it or not, but it is what it is. Also, yeah, this is a resounding review. It is what it is my takeaway from this film. Honestly, it was a good time. I thought it was interesting they decided to shoot it on film. Actually,
they shot it on film.
Yeah, I went and looked, and yeah, it was shot on film, which is like very
why?
Weird. I don't know.
Why does this movie need to be shot on film?
I guess it gives it a modern, slick, a less slick and modern type of thing. It's more like
maybe because it's a murder mystery film, and
yeah,
so
maybe
it's like
that's
kind of
why
noirish.
Yeah, a noir with computer graphic animated creatures, but
and with like 80% CGI backgrounds.
Yeah, seriously, like in completely fabricated in a computer cityscapes. But you know what? It was over the top and ridiculous, but the twist was also absolutely bonkers. But it was fun. I had a good time. And the best part of this all was that they handed us Pokemon cards because we went on opening night. So, quite the nostalgia trip. Got a Pikachu and a Charmander, my two favorites. So,
nice.
That was good. So, I mean, overall, it was a decent, completely fine film. I even almost thought about pre-ordering the Blu-ray after, but not obviously, but definitely rethought that, which was probably a good decision. What are your thoughts on this? I want to hear this.
I think when you talked about the twist, when the twist happened in this movie, I'm just like, who is that? Like, what? Why is that significant?
Yeah.
And basically, I have no knowledge of Pokemon. I never played the games. I watched some of the anime shows, so. And I only know a handful of Pokemon, and that twist, I don't even remember what was his name. It was like
Mewtwo?
Mimic or something.
Oh, Mr. Mime? Wait, no.
Mr. Mime, right? Or no, there's a person who could shapeshift.
Oh, Ditto.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I didn't even know that was a Pokemon. It looked like a human to me.
Oh yeah.
So this movie went completely over my head.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Pokemon references were great for all the fans, but I have no connection to that stuff, so I was just there to see a movie. And
right.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. The movie was just okay. There's a mildly interesting mystery story, some surprises that you can kind of see coming. The world, like the guy who they want you to think is the bad guy, he's not the bad guy, is someone else, in the story. So the world building was kind of cool. There's a city where Pokemon and humans are intertwined in daily life, but elsewhere in the world, they're kind of like hunted.
Yeah.
But I'm like, during the movie, I'm like wondering why. Like, if this mega city shows that you can live in harmony with Pokemon, like, wouldn't the rest of the world just do that? Like, why do they have to keep hunting them? There's like an inconsistency there, I felt like, but
well, like if the greatest country in the world could have no slaves, then the rest of the world shouldn't have slaves too, right?
Most of the world doesn't have slaves yet. No, I don't know.
What a great analogy.
No, I see your point.
Such high-mindedness right now.
I think I was overly critical when I was watching this movie because I'm like, wow, they're really leaning in on the IP and they're not really trying to gain a new audience.
Yeah.
Like, they're not trying to get people like me into Pokemon.
Yeah.
And
I completely agree. I thought it was a lost opportunity to kind of reintroduce the whole concept of it to people.
Yeah. Right.
It's a brand new movie. Here's a chance to reintroduce this product to kids in this day and age who probably didn't grow up with them. Instead, it catered to the late 20-year-olds who like grew up on the stuff, and turns out it's a limited market. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Star Wars: The Force Awakens, that movie tried to earn new fans. The first 40 minutes of the movie, there's not a single legacy character in it. It's all new characters, and they win you over to these new characters, using the first 40 minutes of the film before going back into Han Solo and Princess Leia, and then finally Luke Skywalker. I mean, it is it is the greatest IP in the history of the world. So maybe it's different in that sense, but
no,
I feel like that
you're
movie.
Right, though, they didn't lean too heavy. People might argue otherwise, but they didn't lean heavily on nostalgia at first. It was completely new characters that we ended
all
up
new.
loving. By halfway point. So here they didn't really do that. They didn't set anything up for us. It was just kind of here's this world and here's the story, and that's it. Hope you have fun. And
yep.
Yeah.
I just think these video game movies need to approach storytelling as if no one knows what their product is. They have to really work hard at getting the audience invested in the characters first and foremost. Totally. And I kind of alluded to this in our Godzilla review, but that was another movie where I wasn't as familiar with the IP. So, that movie also, I felt didn't do the work of getting us invested emotionally. And so it's hard to care for these other characters, CGI characters who don't really talk that much, if you don't have any connection to the IP.
Yep.
So, I mean, those are my thoughts on Pokemon. I don't think it was a terrible movie by any stretch. There's definitely a lot to enjoy in there. There's a mountain scene where a Pokemon is a mountain and everything's folding on top of itself. I actually thought that was legitimate cool sequence, cool action sequence.
I actually didn't know which Pokemon that was. That probably came on a few years later.
Yeah, I had no idea what was going on, so I was entertained by it.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Shall we move on to the next two? We're gonna lump these next two movies together for a very specific reason. All right. Next up is Aladdin and the Lion King.
You stumbled upon an opportunity. I can make you rich. Rich enough to impress a princess.
What would I have to do?
There's a cave of wonders. Bring me the lamp.
Run away, Simba, and never return. You must take your place in the circle of life.
Job, why do we lump these two movies together?
They are absolute utter nonsense. These remakes that Disney's doing, absolute nonsense. Makes no sense. Unnecessary. Stop it. Well,
end review.
Yeah, end review. Honestly, yes. I mean, they make money. That's why they do them. But it's completely morally and creatively bankrupt to create these movies. There, I said it.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Why? The Lion King. Okay. It's a shot-by-shot remake Like 90 to 95% of the movie is exactly the same as the original movie from 20 years ago.
But technology,
And, that part is awesome. Like, they updated the aesthetics, the look of the movie.
Sure.
I mean, it looks like a documentary at some points, right? Like a National Geographic film. But, when let's take Mufasa's death, for example. That's the scene that I remember vividly in the remake. Like, the angle of where Scar digs his paws into Mufasa, and then lets him go, and he falls to his death. And then we have a camera that zooms out of Simba as he's shouting no. Like, it's exactly the same as the original. And, I felt a lot of deep things when I was watching this Lion King remake. Like, the music, the story, it's really moving. But none of this has anything to do with this movie. It has to do with what came before, like 20 years ago.
Right.
So I just, I feel like there's no winning with these remakes. If you make any changes, there's no way it's going to measure up to the original, right? You add in a song like Speechless in Aladdin, and it sticks out like a sore thumb.
Let me just talk about that song.
Okay.
It's probably the worst song I've heard in many, many years. It is so bad. I wish I could give like an objective review of why, but it just made me so utterly angry. Like, I was like, you're wasting my 5 minutes listening and watching this scene in this movie. It makes no sense. Like, it has nothing to do with the story. It does, but like, it's so ham-fistedly on the nose. I don't know. Like, Jasmine may as well have been wearing a clown nose. It just was so on the nose. Like, I just couldn't stand it. And at first I was like, oh, it's a new song, cool. And like that mild interest soon morphed into just sheer horror at like this song we're listening to. I feel bad. I'm sure there's people who like it.
No,
but
there's no one in this world who likes that song. Like, I think
that's
we can
not
bet
true.
money.
That's not true. It's an empowering song that's important for this day and age.
The movie literally pauses. They hit the pause button on the movie,
That's right. Mm-hmm.
and Jasmine starts singing this song.
They freeze everyone around her. They freeze everyone around her.
Yeah, everyone stops moving except Jasmine, and she sings
With
this
the
song.
power of song. With the power of song, she defeats her enemies. So, it was an important plot point,
Yeah, because she wants to be Sultan, so
that's right.
she has to sing a song first before she becomes Sultan.
Yeah.
I think there's a sequence in The Lion King, right, with Simba's hair traveling back to his homeland.
Yeah.
That whole sequence, like all these additions, any addition that you make to these movies, it's like a reunion with old friends, right? Like a high school reunion or something. You see people you haven't seen in a long time. It's super nostalgic. You guys reminisce on the past. And then there's a new person in your group trying to fit in, right? And no matter how hard they try, they just don't fit in. It just doesn't work. They don't have that history, And
that is a perfect analogy. A perfect analogy.
So, like,
hey, guys, remember that one time?
Yeah.
It's like, no, we don't. Get out of here.
And that's what these additions, like that song, the new sequences, like some of it is okay, some of it just it's just terrible. But if you keep everything exactly the same, then you're going to be accused of being lazy and creatively bankrupt,
which we just did.
Right, exactly.
We just accused them of that just now. You can't win.
Yeah. So
I'm sure Bob Iger is like crying about this review right now while he bathes in his $1 billion for both.
Oh yeah.
Like there's one room full of dollar bills like Scrooge McDuck, and he's just lying there crying, wiping his tears with the Benjamins, and I'm sure he's really hurt by this review.
Yeah, those Rotten Tomato scores are keeping him up at night.
Oh yeah. But I mean, to be a little more charitable, I maybe these films just aren't for people like us anymore. I get maybe we're older now and they're being made for a new generation, but I don't get why the cartoons aren't good enough, like, for kids, you know?
Yeah.
Is it technology? Is it Disney thinking they're outdated? Maybe the social norms that were prevalent back then, they want to, like, whitewash as if they never happened. I'm not sure. Maybe that's not it, because I did just get an email from Disney saying that the Aladdin 4K is now available, and it's both the animated version and the live action one, and they were promoting both. So maybe it's not. Maybe they're just, I don't know. I'm sure we could find some interview where the creators are saying there's a reason for doing this and a reason why it exists, but I don't know. Like you said, it just feels kind of pointless. Like, what is the point? But yeah.
Yeah,
maybe we want some new friends to join our old group of friends, you know. Maybe we're just being more inclusive.
Yeah, I think just to add on to what you just said, you know, just to be charitable, like, I do admire and respect the fact that Disney tried to cast like an all Middle Eastern actors in the roles in Aladdin. So that was cool, like seeing a Hollywood film just with Middle Eastern and Indian actors. Like that was you know, I've never seen that before. So
yeah, that is,
you know,
true.
we have to applaud them for trying and making those attempts.
Yeah, we've come a long way since they cast a non-Asian as Aang, you know, in the Avatar Last Airbender.
Sure.
So
I think it's possible for them to maybe take some risks with the billions of dollars that they have.
Yeah.
And maybe make a brand new property with an original story.
No, that makes too much sense.
Yeah. What am I saying? Oh,
yeah,
well.
Stop making sense. Yeah, well, we clearly like these movies.
Okay. I think just to clarify, I don't hate these movies. Like, I actually did enjoy them somewhat. Like Aladdin and Lion King. Like, I would still give them like a favorable review just because of my fondness for the originals.
Okay.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I just kind of wish they just did something new. Like something like, okay, so Frozen, that's a completely original property, right?
Yeah.
It's not based on anything else.
I heard you really liked it.
I didn't like I didn't like Frozen, but you know, I think I can commend Disney at least for creating a brand new property and gaining a huge following. Just, you know, creating something brand new. So I feel like they could do that.
You have to give them that. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. So let's honestly, in the end, deep down inside, I just want Tron 3. Like, just freaking give us Tron 3, and I'll forgive you for all these remakes. Please.
Can you imagine a de-aged Jeff Bridges nowadays? No. Like, can you imagine how much better it would be nowadays? Like, if they were to do that now.
Yeah,
that would be really cool. But yeah. So, I think I'd like sheer in terms of filmmaking craft and set design and all that, they did fine, you know. They did fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, they're not the same.
Yeah.
Get off our lawn.
Shall we move on to the next lawn?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. This next one's going to be a lot of fun too. Yes. Our next film is Dark Phoenix.
Why did you make me do that?
Look at me. Focus on my voice. I'm not giving up on you, Jean.
She was my friend.
You're my family, Jean. Stop, no matter what.
Stop.
Yeah, the best movie ever.
Job, what did you think?
Endgame.
What did you think of the last X-Men film?
So I fell asleep during the first 10 minutes of this movie.
Great.
I don't know why. It was in the middle of the day. It was 11 in the morning. I don't know what happened. I was trying so hard and I couldn't do it. But this film, okay, that being said though, this movie wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, given how long it took to make this movie and all the production problems. I think that it was a perfectly competent movie. It wasn't awful. It's not Suicide Squad, you know.
It's not incomprehensible. Like
yeah. There's
scenes progress logically.
There's a plot, and there's characters.
That's like the bare minimum now.
Yeah. Oh, but it's Dark Phoenix is a victim of the Disney Fox Aqua merger, or whatever we want to call it, the monopoly, the last Infinity Stone in Bob Iger's gauntlet. I'm not sure that they meant for this movie to be what it is. I'm sure they didn't mean for this to be the last X-Men series movie, but it really whimpers to the finish line. And that's really too bad. The characters seem tired. They seemed uninterested, and after a movie like Logan, which was pretty good, it's weird that Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix are the ones that will close these stories with these characters. It's just too bad. There doesn't seem to be any direction with these films, and I think mercifully it's now over. So
yeah, I agree with you on that point of a lack of direction, because I feel like this franchise, as much as I love so many of the movies in the X-Men franchise, it feels like it was made up as they were shooting each movie.
Yeah.
Like we see the MCU and how meticulously it was planned from movie to movie, like the timeline and how each character builds on other stories or how they're linked together. Like, was there ever an overarching plan with the X-Men? Like, we go from X2 to The Last Stand, where everybody dies, and then you get Days of Future Past, which reboots the whole thing, and then you mess it all up again with Apocalypse.
Don't forget First Class.
I didn't want to mention First Class because it's actually one of my favorite comic book films of all time.
Oh.
I mean, Days of Future Past is amazing. I'm just saying, like, the timelines and then the character arcs and where this overall story goes is just so strange.
Yeah.
And like,
completely.
It's like Christopher McQuarrie, making an X-Men franchise, but it doesn't work,
but not good.
Yeah, but not good. It's not Mission,
It's not Mission.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, within 10 years, they do the same Dark Phoenix story again. It's so sloppy and weird.
True.
True. First Class, I love that movie. It's my favorite X-Men movie. It introduced James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, and I think they're so good in their roles.
Yes.
But man, every single movie after First Class, they have to explain how Magneto, who's always living away from the action, they have to explain in every movie how he's pulled back into the action. Like in this movie, he literally has nothing to do with anything until Jean Grey suddenly just looks for him, like in the middle of nowhere. Like all of a sudden, like I'm like, wait, Jean Grey knows Magneto? Like how? Like when did they establish that she has a relationship with Magneto? Like I don't remember. That's how like bad the previous movie was. So, but I agree with you though. Like we can't hate on it too much because of all the problems that happen behind the scenes, and also the Disney Fox merger. There were also a lot of entertaining action scenes. Like in Apocalypse, every X-Men was just standing there, like literally standing there with their 2 feet planted on the ground, and they're just blasting huge beams of light at the villain. So that was the extent of the action scenes, I felt, from what I remember of Apocalypse. In this one, they're actually moving around. They're jumping off walls. They're teleporting. So they're using their powers. They're just doing it one at a time. Like they don't like team up to use their powers. At least I don't remember that happening. I guess one thing I'm looking forward to in this next era of the MCU is how Marvel Studios uses these characters and their powers. Like,
yeah,
I just think of Captain America: Civil War, the airport fight scene, and how glorious it was. Just imagine X-Men in the MCU, all of them using their powers in that way, fighting each other or fighting, other mutants. It's so ripe. But yeah, I agree with you too.
When do you think they're gonna fold these characters into the MCU?
Oh man, I'm so glad you asked. My theory is that they're gonna use Scarlet Witch as like the gateway into mutants, because they don't explain her powers in the MCU. Really, they don't explicitly explain how she got her powers.
Yeah.
And I was actually just talking to my brother about this, and he was thinking how, in Avengers Endgame, they talk about how the Infinity Stones emit gamma radiation, right? So, hey, maybe the snap, because the Earth experienced 2 snaps, right, within 5 years of each other. Maybe there's so much radiation from the snap that it caused a wide-scale, mutation.
Ooh.
So maybe you could plant some mutants in each movie in Phase 4 and then in Phase 5, and then just have them eventually end up in the same film, in an X-Men film. I think that would be... I mean, there's just so many ways that they could approach setting up X-Men in the MCU, and I know that, whatever they do is going to be awesome, it's going to blow our minds, and we're going to be super excited. They know what we want as fans. They're going to tease us. They're going to give us what we want. So
that's right. Just like more Spider-Man stories.
Oh gosh, please. Honestly, my theory is Spider-Man is going to leave the MCU for just a couple of years, and then he's going to come back. I think he's going to have his adventures with Venom and Carnage, and then he's just going to come swinging right back into the MCU. That's my opinion.
I just hope if they do end up splitting like this, that Sony would have the decency to leave things open where he could swing back in. Not overcomplicate it or, close off some door where there's no way he could get back into, meeting the rest of the characters.
Yeah, right.
Maybe it ends up being where he goes to San Francisco for a little while and teams up with Venom. But
Spider-Man not so far away from home.
Yeah, Spider-Man cross country or something. Yeah. That would be a great one.
Yeah.
Road trip, Spider-Man road trip maybe?
What if they call it Spider-Man Venom?
Spider-Venom. Ooh.
Spider-Man v Venom.
Oh. Ooh. Or as the kids like to say, Spider-Man X Venom. Yeah. Sorry, we're getting off track here. I did have a question. I'm not as familiar with Magneto's origins in this version, or in general. Is he German or is he? Where does
he's Jewish? So
Jewish. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's not Sokovian, which is weird.
No. But you know what though? Scarlet Witch's father is Magneto. So.
Right, in the comics, right? In the original.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like Scarlet Witch is the key to all this. Elizabeth Olsen, please don't leave the MCU. You're so important.
Well, she's tied in to Disney Plus, so.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like she's not going anywhere, right? And she's going to be in Doctor Strange. Oh, Multiverse of Madness. What if she sees that?
Maybe that's where it is.
Yeah, it's possible.
Ooh. The possibilities are endless, and the fact that we've reached this point where we're speculating on the MCU and X-Men in the future is kind of really all there is to say about Dark Phoenix. This is the last thing, and it's not great, and we're looking forward to something else, and it's too bad. It's really too bad.
I mean, let me just say how sad of an ending this is for this great franchise. The last scene has James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender playing one final game of chess, and it cuts to the cafe that they're sitting at, but neither actor is in the shot as it dollies away, because that was a reshoot, and
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, I was like,
Oh,
why?
wow.
How come they're not in the last shot of the movie? Like, they were just playing chess, and then it cuts, and then they're not in the shot anymore, and it just dollies away. I mean, this is from what I remember. I remember not seeing them, and I just felt like this was a pickup shot or a reshoot that, they couldn't get the actors back, so they just filmed the cafe.
So sad.
I love X-Men. I love, like a lot of the movies that Fox did with them. I just think, it's time for someone else to come in, another creative voice to come in.
Yeah. Alrighty.
All right.
We do Toy Story 4?
Let's do Toy Story 4.
Everyone, Bonnie made a friend in class.
Oh, she's already making friends.
No, she literally made a new friend. I want you to meet Forky.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Ah! He's a spork. Yes, yeah, I know. Forky is the most important toy to Bonnie right now. We all have to make sure nothing happens to him.
Woody, we have a situation.
I am not a toy. I was made for soup, salad, maybe chili, and then the trash.
Buzz, we've got to get Forky.
Affirmative.
Job, what did you think of Toy Story 4?
Okay, well, so we watched this one together. It seems that the running theme for us in this review podcast is, why is this movie a thing? Toy Story 3 was a perfect closer to a wonderful story about childhood, but we got another one. Was it a requel, which is kind of like a reboot / sequel / chance to start over again? A new era of endless, exhausting spin-offs, or something. As a movie itself, I liked it well enough. I thought it was pretty funny and kind of creepy at the creepy doll parts. But I cannot shake this feeling of fatigue and cynicism growing at the machine that is Disney. I love Marvel and Star Wars, and they're owned by Disney. These films that keep getting made are lacking in some originality or the spark or whatever it is that made Disney so magical when we were growing up. And I know I sound really old while I'm saying this, but when Toy Story came out, it was incredible. It was a breakthrough. It was unprecedented. We'd never seen something like it, and it blew us away. But we're now on the 4th iteration of it, and it just feels so tired, even though the graphics are better than ever. And I don't know, it just feels so endless, and it's like, is there never gonna be a conclusion to, like, a lot of Disney movies before were like the happily ever after, tie it up with a bow and end the story, but it seems like we're never gonna have an ending to any of these stories. Yeah. Sorry. Get off my lawn.
I completely agree. My thoughts are just, some things are just meant to be left alone. This movie was fun. It was entertaining. I loved seeing these characters again, but the entire time I just kept asking myself why. Like, why did they have to alter a perfect ending? Toy Story 3 was perfect.
Yes,
that trilogy was perfect. One of the greatest trilogies of all time. Then they had to make this movie, which just feels like an addendum, right, to a perfect trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
If they called it something else, I think my main thing is if they just called it something else, like Toy Story Lost in the Carnival or something. Toy Story and the scary dolls,
The spork. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Enter the spork. something. Okay, I think that would have made this movie more palatable for me.
Yeah.
But just, I mean, in the back of my mind, I just kept wondering, like, why? Why did we have to come back? Like, I was in such a happy place with Toy Story 3.
Mhm.
It's been almost a decade since then, and I think to reopen that up, and it is a fun adventure, but it doesn't reach the heights of the original trilogy. It doesn't feel as genuine and as bold and creative as the originals.
I agree.
Yeah. Buzz Lightyear is like a beloved character, but I feel like he was just kind of relegated to like side character.
Oh, I know.
Character.
He was just kind of there. There was nothing. It was about Woody, which is good, but it's about Woody and his like the deconstruction of him, which is very postmodern and kind of depressing and like, oh my gosh, why are we watching this?
Yeah.
But I get it. I get like wanting to. Well, I don't get it, but yeah, I don't get it. But again, it was like totally fine. A movie that was solid. It wasn't bad in any way. Just kind of unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember after the movie, leaving the theater, we were talking about it, and our conversation was like 10 minutes max. Like,
yeah.
There was not that much to talk about with Toy Story 4. Yeah, I hope that if they do another one, just drop the numbers, like do something, have like a subtitle below the title or something.
Even if it's like Woody and Bo Peep, go on an adventure.
Call it something else. Like I'm fine. Like I love these characters. I would love to see them again. Just like, discontinue the main story. Is what I'm saying. Give us Woody and the Bo Peep a Toy Story.
Yeah, a Toy Story story.
All right, get off this lawn.
Yeah, let's get off this lawn.
All right, our final lawn here.
Oh,
this is
yes.
this. Okay, here we go. Our last film on our summer movie recap.
You should go
Fast
first.
and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
I'm dealing with the future of the planet. I'm the necessary shock to the system. I am human evolutionary change. Bulletproof. Superhuman.
Who the hell are you?
Bad guy.
The mission has been compromised. We need help.
Fast and the Furious franchise, we all know. Okay, it's loud, it's dumb, and I freaking love it. Right. I feel like a little kid again when I watch these movies because when I was a kid, I would create all these dumb stories in my head of like hijacking cars or like trucks or something, and the cars crashing and flying over each other, like impossible things, right? Really cartoony things. And I feel like the joy of that franchise, of this franchise, lies in how Justin Lin kind of brought that back. And I think he also injected a mythology into the series, right? He played around with timelines. No, I mean, you watch Fast and Furious 1 through 7, there is like a mythology in it. He plays around with timelines. He brings characters back after an absence.
Okay.
And events will lead up to like Fast and Furious 3. It was 4, 5, and 6. 4, 5, and 6 are actually prequels to Fast and Furious 3. So I mean, it's a weird timeline, but basically, like those events, there's a lot of foreshadowing of what's going to happen next. Right, so I thought that added an element of surprise and anticipation in these movies. So, it's been 3 movies since Justin Lin departed from the franchise, and while Furious 7, I felt like it was a spectacular tribute to Paul Walker. I feel like Fate of the Furious and now Hobbs and Shaw, it's it's kind of like whimpered to the finish line. Like these are like
What
okay.
finish line? This thing is gonna keep going too.
I heard they're gonna stop at like 10. Fast and
Really?
Furious 10. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, and honestly, let's just be real here. This franchise is what it is because of all the agents, all right? Justin
Yes.
Lin and then James Wan, all right? So this franchise is at its best when an Asian is directing. So
Justice
thank God they
for
brought
Wan.
Yeah. Justin Lin's back, so he's gonna actually do the next 2 movies. They're shooting it, I think, back to back.
Wait. Are the next 2 movies Furious 10 and 11, or is it Hobbs and Shaw?
Hobbs and Shaw
Chapter
is like
2.
No, it's gonna be Furious 9 and 10.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, I just want this franchise to be good again. Let's get back to what made these movies more interesting, which is that that quote unquote mythology that I was talking about. Let's get away.
I just never would have thought of mythology, that word, and Fast and Furious.
Go back and rewatch 1 through 7. There is a mythology in this. Like they're trying to make these characters into larger than life characters, like superheroes.
I believe you.
Let's talk about Hobbs and Shaw though, because I've been talking about the franchise in general, but
I love
this
it.
movie tried so hard to be funny, but it wasn't. It wasn't funny.
Oh.
Like it had some cameos that were really surprising. Ryan Reynolds shows up, and then
Pikachu.
I just I didn't think his character was that funny, and then it was just one long improv thing that just none of it landed for me. And Kevin Hart was pretty funny, I felt like. His role actually mattered, I think, in the movie.
Yeah.
But jokes were flying left and right, and they were trading like jabs at each other. But I feel like middle school kids have better insults than this, honestly. Like, I think The Rock and Jason Statham, they have a few good moments, but their chemistry, I don't think they can sustain an entire movie. Like, they're both great action stars, but this story was so silly. Like, the villain was like a cartoon.
Yes.
It was really long. By the time they got to Samoa at the end, I was just I started checking my phone for the time because I was like, oh my gosh, this is like I felt like it was already the third act like 20 minutes ago.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. That moment when I realized, oh wait, they haven't even reached the islands yet. Oh God. Oh no. I thought, oh, it's almost done, right? And then I remembered the trailers that played in front of every single movie this summer that they went to the islands. So, yeah, I agree with you. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, I think out of all the movies, this is the one that I think I would have to be a little bit harder on just because.
Sure.
Just because, it's not hard to be dumb, like a fun, dumb movie, but this is just, it was too much.
Okay. Okay. This is the movie that we may disagree on. This was the best movie of the summer by far. Like,
oh my God.
Step aside Lion King, Endgame, what? No. Hobbs and Shaw, the best film of this. Okay, I can't do that. It was brainless, dumb, mind-numbing, rock-flexingly good time. See, it was so good that I can't even form coherent sentences to describe it. It was just beautiful. Cars, yes. Explosions, guns, villains. It was so good. No, in all seriousness, I thought this movie was all right. It understood. What I really appreciated about it was I think it completely understood what it was completely self-aware, and just decided to have so much fun with it. I love that all semblances of continuity just were thrown out the window. The battle on the island started in the dead of night, in complete darkness with like fire around them, and 2 frames later they're in broad daylight. They're like saying, the machine thing that was supposed to heal Vanessa Kirby's character, it'll take like 20 minutes, to complete its cycle or whatever. But it shifts from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. in that 20 minutes. And it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful. I was just like, of course this just happened. It's perfect.
The way I saw it was they were like Idris Elba's crew shows up at like 5:23 a.m. and then they start fighting at like 5:28 and then sun rises at 5:30, Yeah. That's how I saw it.
That is a stretch. It's such a stretch. Oh, so good. Okay, even if you accept that, you have to know that these filmmakers know exactly what they're doing and just went like, and just decided it's okay. Oh, so good. And when The Rock was holding the moving helicopter, a tow truck, and chain in midair, it's wonderful. I do hope they make more. I and I'm not joking. I think they should make more of these. It's fun. Unlike you, I thought the banter was hilarious. It was so bad that it was good. And I remember movies like John Carter, where I just laughed through the whole thing because it was so bad and so good, all at the same time. Idris Elba in this movie straight up says, "I'm the bad guy." You gotta respect that. Mad props.
Doesn't he like announces it right when he shows up?
Yeah, he's like, "Who are you? Bad guy." It's like, oh, very subtle, very subtle. I like it. I like seeing these guys more than I like seeing Vin Diesel at this point.
Really? I'm actually the other way around. I actually really miss Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez, and I miss that crew. Tyrese. Those guys to me are Fast and Furious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've been with the franchise since the beginning. So I think they were like the missing ingredients in this movie, in my opinion. I mean, at least they added in Nos at the end, like, oh hey, you guys remembered you're in Fast and Furious.
Yeah, I remember seeing that and going like, oh yes, that's what we're watching right now, and not Jumanji or something, But yeah, I get what you're saying. I think it's a little long and over the top, but I thought it was a totally fine movie. The best one of the summer.
All right, let's get off all these lawns and look ahead to what other lawns we can trample.
Oh yes.
So the summer overall, I think it was okay. Like it was an okay summer in the movies. Like it started really strong with Endgame, and we had The Farewell and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes.
Which I think, and Spider-Man: Far From Home, which I think we both really agreed that those were great films, like legit great films. But I think everything else was a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah.
Looking ahead to the fall schedule, I think we have some notable films coming up that we may try to discuss. So I'll just go through a list. It Chapter 2, that's like a maybe, right?
Yeah. I didn't get to see the first one.
Okay. There's an interesting movie with Brad Pitt. The space film Ad Astra comes out on September 20th.
Yeah. That's one I'm interested in.
Yeah. We got Joaquin Phoenix in Joker on October 4th. That is, I think, a must discuss film for us. Yes. We have Ang Lee's Gemini Man.
Oh yeah, that's right.
October 11th. I'm not sure how I feel about that film, but I'll see it because I like Ang Lee. And Will Smith was good. Zombieland 2, October 18th. Have you seen the first one?
Yes, I have. Yes. Yeah.
I
remember
think
seeing that and was like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, the first one was kind of fun, and all those actors now are A-list actors, like Emma Stone, Jesse Eisenberg, and
they weren't at the time, right, when they first made it.
Yeah, they were. I didn't know who any of them were, and then so now, they're all A-list actors, and they're all back. So, I think the first movie was fun. I think it might be worth checking out. Terminator: Dark Fate, November 1st.
I'm going hunting.
I am crossing my fingers on this one. I'm hopelessly optimistic, but I'm also very, very cautious because I've been burned way too many times.
It looks okay. Well, the 2-minute trailer we've seen looks okay.
Yeah. Ford v Ferrari, November 15th. That's a racing film with Christian Bale and Matt Damon. Check out the trailer for that one. That looks pretty sick.
Yeah, it looks good.
Then we got Frozen 2, November 2nd. I hate Frozen, so it might be fun to rip on this, or maybe they might win me over.
Just let it go. Let it go.
And November 27th, we have Rian Johnson's Knives Out, his Last Jedi follow-up film.
I've got this one circled in red ink. Yeah, I can't wait for this one.
Yeah, let's definitely talk about this. We have Jumanji 2 on December 13th. That's a maybe, right? The first movie is fun.
Yep.
We can't talk about all these movies, right? Because we have pretty busy schedules. But this next movie we have to talk about, December 20th. Cats. I can't wait to see the CGI work in that film. It's what I've always dreamt of. Human faces blended in with the body of cats. JK, I can't believe this movie's coming out on the same day. But December 20th is the big one. I think this is going to be a 2-hour episode. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Oh my gosh, I just got so excited just saying that. December 20th, we've got that circled. I don't care what happens. We're going to be there.
It's happening.
Opening night.
It's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, and then December 25th, I think 2 very different films, but I think really interesting period pieces. We have Little Women, the Greta Gerwig film, and 1917, Sam Mendes' war film. It's basically Dunkirk set on land.
Both look really interesting. I'm intrigued for sure. Yeah. Between our 4th and 5th viewings of The Rise of Skywalker, we'll probably kind of check in on those too.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, that concludes our 2019 summer movie recap. Thank you so much for listening 1 hour into this podcast. We appreciate it. So we will see you this fall. We will try to see some of those movies that we mentioned and hopefully talk about a bunch of them on this podcast. All right. So until next time, see you later.
See you later. Thanks for listening.